must fall, but too much.
They're like the Hulks of Fallout. Sometimes nice, sometimes not so much. They're the Super Mutants. Amazon Prime's Fallout series introduced a bunch of mind-boggling creatures and humanoids from the games to the screens, and we're pleased about it. But we're also a little miffed because they left some out, such as the Big Bad or the good old Super Mutants. But don't worry, as their absence in Season 1 doesn't mean that the makers have forgotten about them. It only means that the stage is being set for their future grand reveal. With Fallout Season 2 already announced, we're here to explore the not-so-subtle super mutant hints that we spotted in Season 1, and also ponder upon a few theories. So put on your rad suits and prepare for a deep dive into the Fallout universe. Before we get into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. But first, what are super mutants? These guys are mutated humanoids with gigantic physiques, created due to dipping regular, unmutated humans into tubs of green FE virus. Altered by the chemicals, the super mutants typically have rugged green skin, giving them a supernatural appearance. These guys are super hardened, super strong beings immune to any disease, or worse, radiation. The mutation process massively affects their intelligence, often enhancing their cerebral capabilities, and sometimes corrupting their minds. These super mutants appear across all the games in the franchise, and can be formidable threats, as any fan of the Fallout games would know. In the games, the different types of super mutants have unique origin stories with one commonality. They're the result of abuse of science. Let's see how super mutants fit into the Fallout show storyline. The show is set some 219 years after the Great War, a nuclear holocaust that wiped out America, resulting in a post-apocalyptic world known as the Wasteland. While some humans managed to survive the bombings by taking shelter within the vaults created by the company Vault-Tec, the unfortunate ones were left to survive on the radiation-infected surface that is the Wasteland. Now, the science and tech factions of the Fallout show are all obsessed with conducting bizarre experiments. Thus, it is a possibility that the ultimate goal of these experiments is to design a post-apocalyptic human race, which is immune to radiation and can thrive on the barren surface, and a super mutant fits into the concept just perfectly. So let's unearth some hidden clues in Season 1 that may tease these green mutants' arrival in the next season. The West-Tec connection. In the Fallout games, the process of creating super mutants was first set in motion by the defense contractors of West-Tec at their Southern California research facility. Interestingly enough, the show referenced this detail from the games in the finale episode. It's a sneaky move, Prime Video, but we like it. Let's time travel all the way to 2077 to arrive at the scene we're talking about. It takes place inside the conference room of Vault-Tec, where the corporation's senior executives catch up with other tech biggies to brainstorm about the various ways to govern the Fallout bunkers. Vault-Tec offered these companies free reign on 100+ vaults that they have created across America, in exchange for staying tight-lipped about Vault-Tec's world-destroying plans. Vault-Tec asked the companies to run the cluster of vaults assigned to them in whatever manner they please. No questions asked. They can torture the vault dwellers, feed them intoxicating substances, and even run experiments on them. West-Tec is one among these tech companies who holds a share of tech bunkers, and they come up with a wacky idea of their own. West-Tec floated the idea of creating scientifically enhanced soldiers inside these vaults, kind of like mutated super warriors with increased immunity, strength, durability, and everything. The concept sounds familiar, doesn't it? Yes, of course. West-Tec is talking about creating super mutants, people. That's such a big hint right there. Like we told you previously in the games, it all started at West-Tec's Southern California labs. But the first test subjects were not humans, they were chimpanzees. West-Tec scientists infected over a dozen of these ape species with their in-house forced evolutionary virus, known as the FEV, which was typically shown as a neon green component. Considering that this virus was created by West-Tec's Nuclear, Biological, and Chemical Department, aka the NBC, it was guaranteed to be a deadly cocktail. And so it was, with its gene-mutating abilities. The FEV became one of the most sought-after mutagens in the world, both in the pre-war and post-war eras, as everyone wanted to make their own monsters with this experimental new chem. This virus could genetically alter the recipients to create a better, stronger version of them. However, the effects of the FEV could be controlled by limiting the amount of exposure or increasing it exponentially. Such was the case with the super mutants. The test subjects were not injected, but dunked in huge vials of the forced evolutionary virus to ensure a deliberate overdose. Now, the chimpanzees that were experimented on grew extremely hostile and had to be terminated, but only after West Tech garnered a huge database from the experiments. Further super mutant research based on this data was carried out at their Appalachia labs in West Virginia, and the Mariposa military base in Central California. Meanwhile, enter the Master, an antagonist scientist of the post-war era, who chanced upon the FEV in Mariposa and went berserk with the experiments. And ta-da! He successfully created packs of these super mutants for his army, known as the Unity, by luring in human volunteers. This eccentric villain operated with the belief that war can be stopped by converting all humans into super mutants. Thus, what began as a genetic experiment with chimpanzees turned into a deadly hobby, resulting in armies of mutated green monsters who were once human. And in the Fallout series, with West Tech suggesting they do the same with the Vault Dwellers, it seems that history is about to repeat itself. What's cooking at the Enclave labs? The show plugged in another hint about the super mutants in an earlier episode, introducing the character Dr. Siggy Wilzig. This scene takes place at the Enclave, which in the gaming lore is an evil paramilitary and scientific organization, known for their inhuman experiments and deranged beliefs. In the aftermath of the Great War, the Enclave scientists believed that all humans outside the Enclave had no right to survive, and they extended the same courtesy to the mutants who were still human-like. While operating in California in the early 2200s, the Enclave leaders chanced upon the ruins of the Mariposa military base and used the super mutants of the post-war era as slaves to carry out an excavation. When the forced evolutionary virus was discovered, the Enclave scientists formulated another biological weapon that would wipe out the planet's mutant population with a proposed success rate of 99.5%. And this was just because they believed in racial purity and aimed at creating the perfect race of humans by mass murdering those outside the Enclave. Meanwhile, one of the Enclave's patrol agents, Frank Corrigan, got exposed to the FEV, which kickstarted his conversion into a super mutant. For 2 years, the Enclave kept him heavily sedated and ran horrific experiments on him, turning him into a genetically engineered freak. When the Enclave scientists were done with him, Corrigan was put in a power armor and deployed as a super mutant field agent. As we mentioned before, the Fallout show briefly introduced the Enclave in connection with Siggy Wilzig, when he was running away from the organization with a piece of revolutionary technology. In the few minutes that we spent at the Enclave, the organization was established as a ruthless division that discards newborn puppies for being underweight and experiments with greenish-black humanoids. While escaping the Enclave, Wilzig spotted a dead humanoid creature being carted away on a stretcher, with just its greenish-black arm hanging out from under the sheets. Now, given the Enclave's history of monstrous experiments and obsession with the FEVs in the Fallout lore, it shouldn't come as a surprise if the humanoid turns out to be an actual super mutant. Does Vault 4 hold the key to super mutants? If we're to dig a little deeper into the details of the Fallout series, there may be another speculated tease about the super mutants. This time, we'll explore Vault number 4, which harbors a sinister secret. The scientists who resided in this Vault Tech bunker during the Great War had a knack for carrying out barbaric experiments by mixing up the DNA of contrasting species. For example, they spliced human DNA with genes of radiation-resistant animals and created some bloodthirsty monsters in the process. Eventually, the human subjects that the Vault 4 scientists experimented with revolted against the staff, and that was the end of the resident scientists. While the experiment stopped, the humans who were experimented on developed anatomical abnormalities, which they passed on to the next generation, resulting in descendants with one eye, or 3 noses, or even tentacles. One possibility is that the Vault 4 scientists could have had access to the FEV, and if so, they must have experimented with it by injecting their human test subjects. If this theory checks out, then one or more super mutants may be lurking among these mutated descendants. Furthermore, the present-day Vault 4 serves as a storehouse for some of the former test subjects, who are kept contained in cryosleep-inducing capsules, and we cannot deny the possibility that one of these mutated humans can eventually turn out to be a super mutant. There's another tiny little super mutant hint in the series, in connection with the ambitious Brotherhood member Maximus. As a child, Maximus' hometown Shady Sands was destroyed by nuclear bombing. He survived this holocaust by hiding inside a refrigerator, just big enough for him. This detail can be seen as a reference to a particular mission titled Kid in a Fridge from the Fallout 4 game. In the mission, the player has to rescue a kid hiding in a fridge, and this kid turns out to be a young super mutant. However, the show clearly establishes that Maximus is far from being a super mutant, and that fridge scene is simply an Easter egg for eagle-eyed fans of the games. Marvelous verdict. To sum it up, the super mutants are a staple of the Fallout universe. But don't hate us for saying this, they're also kind of overused in the games. Thus, it'll be awesome to witness these green abominations live on screen, but in limited numbers, just like the makers did with the ghouls. Also, super mutants aren't the only ones set up for Season 2. There's the mythical Deathclaws as well. And with New Vegas as the setting for the next season, we can't wait to witness what other wasteland creatures are in store for us. With that in mind, we're signing off for now, but don't forget to check out our other Fallout-related videos. If you liked our video today, please stay tuned for more such sci-fi content. See you super soon. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.